From the Stream Center in Tampa, Florida, this is WFLA Now, powered by 1-800-ASK-GARY.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's Deanne King here, your traffic anchor, for the culture reporter, and host of our Honoring Black History Rooted in Progress special. We are so excited to be talking about Rooted in Progress. It is airing tomorrow. The time has come, y'all. Saturday, February 17th at 7 p.m. I am joined now by an incredible group. Before me, we have Miss Jeanette Horge-Smith, who is actually a member of our studio audience. She is a local entrepreneur, marketing CEO, and so we appreciate your time and for being a part of this very important conversation. We have Mr. David Christian, who is the Senior Vice President of Regions Bank. He served as one of our panelists as a part of Rooted in Progress. We appreciate you joining us this morning. And we have someone who you all don't really get to see. We have Mr. Terrence Middlebrooks. He is our director. He is the brains behind the operation, who actually really helped foster this entire project. I came up with this idea and I was like, how do we do this? And Terrence really helped bring Rooted in Progress together. So Terrence, if you don't mind just sharing what our vision is with Rooted in Progress and what we hope our community learns from and gains by watching this program.
Yeah, thank you, Deanne, for this invite and even inviting me to be a part of this historical program. When you guys came to me and we started discussing this project, I think it was November?
Yeah.
So first I got to thinking like, okay, when is the air date? When is the air date that this is going to take place? And so at that point, typically when you have a program like this, given the fact that when you work in news, there's programs that can be done in a matter of hours, if not days, but something to this magnitude, it takes weeks, if not months, to prepare. And so first off, I had to get a little background as to what was done last year, what was the do's and the don'ts, the pros and the cons of last year, and taking that information and incorporate to what you guys will see tomorrow. Just from everything from creating, we had a live studio audience.
Yeah.
Which a lot of
we fought for y'all. We fought real hard.
Thank you. Hard for it. And I'm gonna tell you, when you work with someone like Deanne, once someone as strong-minded and confident as this woman here that's sitting to my right, when she wants something done or something gets instilled in her brain, she's not gonna take no for an answer. So saying all that to say that I got all the information I needed. And really believed in this project. So I started thinking about the set, thinking about the audience, thinking about the color scheme. I had to get a hold of our graphics department to see what graphics that we used last year, and even just fine tuning that because we're a huge company. There's a template that was created from our home office, I guess you could say. But yet even pushing buttons, because we were told that we were not allowed to touch the graphics or modify the graphics. Yeah. We were told to stick with the basics. The basics. Yeah. Mind, body, soul.
Stick to the template. Wow.
Mm-hmm. So after we got together as a team, we even sat down with our wonderful producers, Will Richardson, Naisha Harper, Kristen McKay, our digital team, Lola, our digital team, and even our news director. We came up with the theme of the actual show, which is the past, present, and the future of Black history. And you ask yourself, what does that look like? Well, we could always talk about slavery, and we can always talk about, who invented what back then. But what about today?
Right.
I have a 15-year-old son and a 19-year-old daughter. They're so far removed from that era, which is definitely important, no doubt. But what about the Black history that they're making today? And then what does that look like for tomorrow?
I think that brings in that conversation. So for those folks who are wondering, okay, what's going to be talked about and Rooted in Progress, we are covering a wide range of topics. And I think one of the biggest topics that we talked about was gentrification, affordable housing, inequity, disparities that we all face on a daily basis here in our community, which is why it was so advantageous for us to bring people in like Mr. David Christian, who works on a day-to-day basis with numbers and having to tell people, no, you're not approved for this home and all of these things. So when we think about and hear affordable housing, David, we talked about this, kind of giving folks a preview of what to expect tomorrow. We talked about that word affordable and what that looks like, especially for people in our community. When we're talking about affordable housing, how close is that? How attainable is that for somebody who's in, middle income, middle class family who can barely afford to keep their lights on? What does affordable look like for them?
Well, first of all, Deanne and Terrence, thank you so much for the opportunity. This has been fantastic, and I've absolutely enjoyed being a part of it. Affordable, it changes based on the individual, right, and the individual family. But we live in a city where affordable has moved almost $300,000, and so we have to be candid. Affordable now is not what it used to be 10 years ago in the city of Tampa, and there are a lot of families, and you see it in young adults who are still having to live with their parents. They can't afford local rents. Even if they can right now save the money for the down payment on a home, they're still faced with a very high interest rate environment that we're in. So you've got those compounding factors along with additional expenses. Things cost more, right? So you've really got to be strategic. Hopefully we'll see rates begin to drop this year, making it a whole lot easier to obtain the American dream from an affordability component. But in the essence of that, or in the absence of that, in the absence of rates falling, the folks that you brought together on the panel, folks who represent Hillsborough County, city of Tampa, who have, people like Chloe, who have been in the trenches around affordable housing, particularly in East and West Tampa for a long time. We've got to think about how we do this differently. And it's going to take city, county, financial institutions, community leaders to really begin to sit down and solve this problem.
Yeah, right now we're taking a look, David, at that regional equity report courtesy of Tampa Bay Partnership. We actually dive into this in the special that you all will see tomorrow. And when you look at a disparity, whereas home ownership in 2020, only 40% of Blacks in the Tampa Bay region were able to afford a home compared to 73% of whites in our area. When you hear statistics like that, how do you feel? Like, what do you think we should be doing to change that?
Well, it's kind of a three-legged stool, right? First of all, we've got to begin to teach our children early about. I'm not saying they need to go read the Wall Street Journal, but you need to expose them to the world of finance. Make sure they understand what it means to save. Make sure introduce them to stocks and bonds. I'm not saying that they need to take a class in it, but find a way, buy them their first stock. And being a banker, I won't suggest any to go buy. I could get in trouble with that. But make that like you would any other conversation in your house about the simple fact of we're going to go buy one stock of XYZ for you. Introduce them to that early. As someone, you've got to buy the first house. You got to figure that out because the first house is the way that you build equity.
Right.
It's really for most of us the way that we ultimately get to middle class.
Right. That's
so and there are programs. The city, the county do some legwork. They have programs for down payment assistance that can help you achieve that dream. You just got to do a little legwork to find them.
Yeah, you got to do the work to do to actually get there. One of the really unique, and Terrence, we talked about this, advocating for having a live studio audience as a part of this broadcast. Listen, we fought hard.
In the end, we did it for the people. We did it for you.
Because it's about having a voice, right? So like we could get on there, we could bring on all these talking heads, we could have the David Christians of the world come and tell us like, yeah, we have to do better. But then you have people who are sitting at home like, well, what about, how do we? And that's why it was so advantageous for us to have people in our community be a part of this conversation. Jeanette, you actually had some really great questions that you had even specifically for David. Because when you look at that lack of access to capital, when it comes to minorities trying to get a business, a position that you're in, right? Yeah. What are some of those questions? What are some of those things that you were looking to get answered within our special?
One thing, again, thanks, Deanne and Terrence, you all did a phenomenal job even bringing this to the community and then advocating for the community to have a voice. And you're so right. Oftentimes, you're at these programs, you're hearing the experts talk, and you're stuck at the one word that you don't know the definition for. And so, and coming into this as an audience member, I was just really hoping to ask those questions that would allow people to start making notes. The first step, the first thing that they didn't know, and now that new nugget can inspire and change where they can go from there. So, understanding there are panelists like David who would be speaking, we'd be able to ask them questions as a business owner. And I've had my company now for 12 years, and it's really been through trial and error. And so, when you talk about access to capital, one of the things you first wonder is, well, can I access capital, and should I be trying to? Right? How long do you stay in the entrepreneur struggle before you say, hey, let's go for that first loan, or, let's bid on that large contract that's going to require us to have more capital. And so in understanding when to know those things, that's important. Then also, what are the different vehicles of accessing capital? Because when you think about going to the bank, you're like, they're going to be all up in my business. I don't know if I'm ready. So, understanding that as minority business owners, not many of us wake up having a family full of successful millionaires. Right. So we really have to ask the questions on how do you do it? Literally step one.
Right. Yeah, you're right. Were there any questions that maybe, or a question to Mr. Christian that you weren't able to ask during the special that you want to ask him now?
Oh, good. Yes. No pressure. So
there's no pressure here. We don't do that.
So Mr. Christian, one of the questions that I have for you that I was hoping to get answered as a business owner, and you sort of talked to that and you had, just a brief moment to do it as a panelist, but what are those different ways of accessing capital? You mentioned venture capitalists and, I think Shark Tank, right? Like I'm your regular person's knowledge base. So really, what does that look like? Can you really give some more detail about the different ways capital is accessible to minority businesses?
Geez, that's an excellent question. And, Jeanette, I teed it up really in two different ways. One being what we call traditional and non-traditional capital. So if you think about non-traditional, you think about equity in your home, the home equity loan that helps you launch your business. Some entrepreneurs, good, better, and different, credit cards. Not the way I would suggest that you do it, but some do, and it can be successful. Having somebody in your family that, can float you 25, 50 grand. Most of us don't have that, but those are non-traditional ways to really jumpstart a dream and really launch it into an actual business. Traditional ways. So people think that bank loans, and they are, bank loans are very important, but there are venture capital firms that focus specifically on minority businesses. They are looking at companies at that 1 to 5 year development cycle. You're developing a product. You are opening your doors. You've got that large contract now, that large federal contract now that needs capital to execute on. There are companies that are called community development financial institutions. They're kind of intermediary banks. Banks fund them. They then take our dollars. They lend it out at terms and rates that we necessarily couldn't. We've got a couple. We've got one over in Orlando. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Black Business Investment Corporation, which I know a little bit about from my days at the city of Tampa. these are vehicles that exist today to launch really the dreams that entrepreneurs like you have. And my hands off to you. I'm still scared. I'm on the other side of the table, right?
Mhm.
So it takes a lot of energy, a lot of passion, a lot of focus to become a business owner. And we need to do everything we can to make sure that they get supported.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like we're back at the special recorded. And I want to say this before you jump in, Terrence. If you all on the stream have any questions, please ask, whether it be for Jeanette, whether it be for Terrence, whether it be for myself, especially for Mr. Christian. Please jump in those comments and ask any questions. Doesn't matter what you look like. Everybody is trying to figure out how to get access to capital or have any questions about home ownership, whether it be equity. Go ahead and ask those questions. And I'm monitoring, so I'll definitely jump in and we'll get those questions answered for you.
So, yeah, I just had one question. I'm going to throw this question to Deanne. First off, again, I'm going to go back to because of when we started talking about this project. As a creative director, my goal was to bring this to life visually. What does this look like? We've taken parts of our studio. We were, as you saw the videos that is looping, you saw the color scheme, you saw the artwork. All that was a collaboration of people. So, but the one thing that's going to bring this together is the panelists that was chosen for this program. So my question to you, Deanne, and I'm going to tell you like this. I'm a transplant to Tampa. I've been here almost about 4.5 years now. So a lot of the panelists were unfamiliar to me. However, she had some heavy hitters on this panel. David Christian being one of them. How difficult, or where did you guys start when you were thinking about inviting these panelists? How difficult was it to bring everyone together, or perhaps even narrow it down?
It was really difficult because what you want to look at is I'm looking through the lens of the community, right? So I'm looking at ways that no matter where you live, no matter what you look like, how they can somehow relate to this special, right? And so I also had the lens of we need people who can get something done, right? So we need someone who can get something done, who will hear these problems and actually create change. But we also need an advocate. So what you'll see strategically when you watch tomorrow, there will be a leader, an elected official on that panel, but there's also going to be somebody who is an advocate who is either already advocating in the community. So for example, we have Hillsborough NAACP president, Yvette Lewis, who has lived here, worked here for a really long time and talks about those struggles and the fights, literally sitting next to the person who she technically is asking to do the work. Councilman Vieira. Like, you're going to see those two kind of challenge each other, right? And that's what I was looking for. I was looking for someone who could be an advocate for the community, and then someone who was sitting right next to them who could say, you know what? I hear you. I'm here, and I'm here for you, and I'm going to make a difference. So from Councilman Vieira, we also have Minority Leader, State Representative Fentress Driscoll. That's huge.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is huge.
Yes,
It's huge.
very much so.
And to be able to also hold her accountable. You created legislation. What's going on with it? You're looking at some video right now. We had a council chair from St. Pete, Deborah Figgs Sanders. Oh my goodness, St. Pete is on fire right now with that drop.
Listen, it's about to boom.
Well, and I was fascinated because I'm up in the director's booth, guys, and I'm punching cameras. So it's very rare that I actually tune in to the dialogue that's being taken place. However, I found myself being stuck on a shot because of just some of the information that was relayed. Yeah. But again, my hat's off to you and producer Will and Kristen and the team for getting these heavy hitters in one room at one time in what I thought was a positive and what will become a positive outcome.
Yeah.
Without yelling and mics being muted and all that.
Yep.
It was, to me, very, very well done.
Thank you.
And I think this is going to be a staple in the community on moving forward and getting change.
Yeah, it starts with that. I want to add something that we haven't even addressed. I think I sent it to you this morning, Terrence.
You did. Yes.
For folks who are watching, you talk about being rooted in progress. Councilman Vieira. So what you all will see tomorrow is I brought up something that has not been effectively accomplished in over 4 years. Council has talked about it. People have brought it to their attention. They haven't done anything about it.
Right.
Councilman Vieira responded by saying he's going to do something about it. Yesterday, during city council, he brought it up and says, I'm going to keep bringing it up. We're going to have a motion about it, and we're going to do something about it.
Yes.
That's
how you change. That's how
is
change
rooted
happens.
in progress.
Absolutely.
That is exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
I was this morning when he tweeted it out and he tagged me in it. I was about to go on TV and I was almost in tears.
Yeah.
Because that when you ask Terrence, well, how did you all come up with the panels? That was the hope.
Yeah.
And that was the goal, to bring people from our community, advocates from our community, and leaders and change makers who can actually do something and get in a council meeting and sit before the community and sit before council and say, this problem was just shoved in my face, and I'm not about to sit here and look stupid. We're about to do something about it, right?
Yes.
Well,
it's critical.
And I'm sorry, Janelle, I'll say this real quick. And it's when you have a platform like WFLA that's willing to sit down with these leaders, do a 1 hour special, that speaks volumes, and that says a lot, and it basically holds them accountable.
Yeah, no. And, one thing I thank Deanne for after the special was for using her voice and her platform to do exactly that, to affect change. And just in looking at media and entertainment, the integrity of news, right? So to know that you all put the work and the effort and the advocacy in so that program could come forth. I mean, that's something that's going to impact, influence not just future generations as far as what they learn, but journalists, So I really, really am hopeful that, not just the community sees this, but even the folks that are looking at you all grow and blossom see this and realize, man, the investment in educational and empowering programming can go so far, especially when the right minds are brought together and it's curated in a way that's effective and progressive.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I want to ask David, what was your thought on the curation of the panels and being a part of that discussion? How do you hope this resonates with our community as they're probably trying to figure out okay, am I going to tune in tomorrow at 7:00?
I had the privilege to sit and watch all the segments from the background, and from the first outreach, the first communications, to the building of the panel, to the studio audience, I learned a lot. So let me stop there and say I learned a lot. Mm-hmm. There were people in that audience that I need to know, I'd like to know, because they're really the folks on the front line.
Yeah. And
you all are really, as well as the company, WFLA, in these real unique times in which we live, you're there to be applauded for having the courage to empower their associates to bring this kind of programming forth. And like I said before, I'm excited. I'm going to tape it, send it to all my relatives and cousins, and make sure they get it. So again, just job well done, and hats off to your company for giving you the latitude and the assets to get it done.
Yes, thank you, and I appreciate that. Yeah, we do have to kind of give a shout out to management. All the support, honestly, man, it's been so incredible. When everybody has a past and a story, and just to quickly share, I came, and I'm never ashamed to share this story. I came from a station that did not allow me to have this kind of voice. I was sheltered. I was rejected from my hair, from my outfit, from my slang, to my story choices, to all of those things. I was highly filtered and was never able to truly share the stories that I wanted to share. Not that I liked it, right? But because it was a problem and it's real.
Correct.
These conversations aren't because I'm like, oh, I just want to talk about it. It's happening whether you like it or whether you don't think it's a problem. I looked at some of these comments, all your opinions, no matter what you have, everything that is showcased in this special is the truth. Mm-hmm. And that's just facts. And so it takes that courage then to have the voice to speak up about the truth and figure out how we fix it. Because when you look at it, it's wrong. Regardless, right? And so I'm happy to be at a place where we're able to have these real conversations and have all sides, right, brought to the table and have truthful and honest dialogue, but then also get solutions. Jenna, I know you said you had another question for David.
Yeah, so one thing that you talked about that I thought was so important, and this is me as a native of Tampa. Tampa is changing so much. Every day, I feel like there's a new crane, there's a new building. And we talked about affordable housing. We talk about gentrification. And so I grew up in West Tampa. So for anyone that's from Tampa watching this, they already know West Tampa is transforming before our eyes. And there's a lot of people who I know whose families bought homes in these areas that are changing and gentrifying. And one of the things, and I hope, this can really help anyone watching today, that I want to ask David is, how can minority, or let's just say families living in gentrifying areas, instead of selling, if they so choose they may, but instead of selling their houses, how do they benefit from the gentrification happening around them? How can we in some ways circumvent the being a side effect of it and more of a participant in it, so that we also can benefit from the investment in our communities?
Well, Jeanette, if they can stay. If because it's only improving your property value. If you can stay. If you've got some level of resources, if you see it coming, that you can buy the lot next to you or the lot across the street before they become astronomically high and and the house gets torn down. If there's some way that you can participate in it, I know it can be hard, but if you got to call 10 people together and each you got $5,000 and the lot's $100,000, buy it, borrow the rest of it, because you're going to get the upside. So try and participate in it. Try and bring it to your church. Try and get your church to see what's happening around you. A lot of focus still in the Black church as it relates to economics and what they can do to leverage a changing community. And then if at the end of the day you must sell, only sell when you get the best price you can. The best price you can. But it is inevitable. And we need to get ahead of it. We need to get ahead of it before we see it occurring around us, because usually by then it's too late.
Wow.
That was a good answer right there.
Yeah.
I mean, when the first time that I talked to David, even about our idea and what we wanted to share as a part of his panel, he said home ownership is the first step to wealth. And it's so true. And I think that gets overlooked. But then you have to look at how difficult it is to buy a home right now. And those are some of the things that we discuss, because it's difficult for anybody to buy a home, right? When you just boil it down to money. But then you think about those people of color who face an extra layer of issues, right? When it comes to equity and when it comes to buying, purchasing a home. And that's the hurdle we have to jump and figure out. And that's why it's like affordable. Listen here, y'all affordable housing, and we're middle class, and we can't even get in.
Struggle.
We're trying to figure out how to get in affordable housing. But no, I think letting folks know who are home or wherever you are right now, with Rooted in Progress, we want to uncover these issues from affordable housing to gentrification. We talk about what's going on with the legislation as it relates to teaching Black history in schools. That is something that is definitely affecting us here in Florida. And so we have that tough conversation. We have a conversation even about mental health. Mental health it's quite uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You ask people, Jeanette, how you doing today?
Good. And you get fine. Yeah, I'm okay.
Good. And you going home and you're crying and you're doing all of these things. And it's another layer, we're able to talk about those disparities as it relates to racial trauma. This program can be a little heavy.
It can be, but it's well worth all the time spent putting it together. And for those who will watch it, I'm sure it'll be impactful. I think, as an audience member, one of the things that I took away is that, one, you see the community show up. Right. That's the inspiration, initially, is that folks showed up, and then the information that they shared. I'm big on sustainability. I think one of the questions I had for the councilman who was there was investing millions in history, but how does it economically impact the people of today?
Right.
And so, I'm hoping that as people watch this, they're inspired to continue not just the conversation, but the progress.
Yeah, that is the goal. So we really appreciate everybody and your input and for being a part of this. We actually have Justin Floyd. I know this person saying thank you for bringing the truth to light. The truth hurts, but it must be said. That's true. That is so true. And it's one of those things where, again, these conversations can be uncomfortable and rooted in progress. When you all win, you all watch tomorrow at 7 p.m. on WFLA. You're going to hear stories. We're looking at some video because we also have stories as a part of this program. And you're going to hear from an 83-year-old man who once played in an area that was home for him. And it was a cemetery, a historic Black cemetery. And it is now an abandoned high school. No graves were moved. Nothing happened. Those were people in his community who he would visit and sit at their grave and pray to them, talk to them, do all these things he can no longer do because of development and because nobody thought or cared about all of those lives. And that was a segregated cemetery. Back then, Black people they were confined to be buried in a certain, that's Mr. O'Neill Larkin right there. They were confined and had to be buried there. Wow. And then the city just said, oh, okay, whatever, we'll just build this school. So we'll hear how he feels seeing these things and living through it. And we have all of these amazing characters, so to speak, that share their stories of witnessing the change. We had an 83-year-old O'Neill Larkin. We had an 83-year-old woman who was able to share what St. Pete was like for her back in the day and what it looks like now, especially with all of the development and everything happening. It's just so many topics, so many people a part of the conversation. And I'm just so excited, y'all. I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
You should be.
So I appreciate everybody joining. I'm going to look and make sure we don't have any more questions here from anybody in the community. Let's see. We have Jessica chiming in. I feel bad for the cemeteries they are finding, like the one on MacDill Air Force Base. That is, yes, that is just an issue. And what you'll hear in our special, it's not a local problem. This is happening across the country, but Florida was the one that really put it on the map. That's Jessica's comment right there. MacDill Air Force Base being one of the most recent ones. I found out Dr. Antoinette Jackson, who's a cultural anthropologist from USF, who's a part of our special. I was like, oh my gosh, this MacDill Air Force Base is new. And she's like, no, it's not. No, it's not. We've known about MacDill Air Force Base for 5 years. That's a problem. That's a problem. So MacDill Air Force Base, there are graves, majority Black people who they just built right over. Wow. And it's just a issue that continues to happen. So what I really like about this special is that we are bringing these leaders and having a conversation, sitting down and saying, how do we not do this? Because it's illegal. We're going to hear, y'all remember when Representative Driscoll said that? Because a question that you all will see in the special, Representative Driscoll's response was, well, the simple answer is it's illegal. How do we have over 140 historic Black cemeteries that have been built over and it's illegal?
It's that part. Like, literally, you're uncovering the truth.
So, again, we're going to uncover so many things in Rooted in Progress. David, thank you for your time today. Jeanette,
absolutely.
Thank you for your time today.
Absolutely.
And for both of you all being a part of this special. You all can see Terrence had to dip out Because we do have jobs. There are shows that still have to be done.
But you have to watch this one.
Yes, you got to watch this one, everybody. Go ahead, carve out some time on your Saturday evening. Rooted in Progress, airing tomorrow, February 17th at 7 p.m. If you are not able to join us tomorrow evening, we do have another opportunity. You can watch on the CW Tampa Bay Sunday, February 25th at 11 p.m. Now, I know you're going to be like, oh my God, that's so late. No, it's not, because our 11 p.m. newscast airs every single day. Every single day, 11 p.m. And y'all are up texting people and on Instagram.
Scrolling.
So turn on the TV and watch Rooted in Progress. So again, Rooted in Progress, join us tomorrow, February 17th at 7 p.m. You all have an incredible day. Let's continue this conversation and let's continue to stay rooted in progress. Y'all have a good one.